Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to City Council chambers here. It's beautiful downtown Summerside. We have a few meetings here this evening, a planning board, a committee of the whole of council, and a special council meeting. So I'll begin by calling to order the planning board meeting of June 4th, 2024 here at 5:02 p.m. Call for a motion of approval of agenda. The first, just for members of the public who are joining us here, members of planning board are myself, Deputy Mayor Snow, and Councillor Morrison, and Councillor Duran. Councillor Duran is joining us virtually, as I understand. That was his cue to say, yep, there he is. So I'll call for a motion to approve the planning board agenda as presented. Councillor Morrison, second. Councillor Snow, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll proceed as follows. We begin each one of our council meetings by acknowledging the land upon which we gather as unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Ebikway is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. At this time, I'll call on any member of planning board or member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the planning board agenda before you. Hearing none, we will carry on to item 5, recommendation 410 Perrier Avenue, variance accessory building height. And I'm guessing Councillor Duran is either leading it or Councillor Snow?
Councillor Snow.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll hand it over to you, Councillor Snow.
Thank you, Your Worship. Recommendation 410 Perry Avenue, major variance, supporting explanation. Purpose. The purpose of the variance is to allow an accessory building height of 5.4 meters, 17.7 feet, where the allowable height of an accessory building is 4.5 meters, 14.7 feet. The additional height is being requested to accommodate the installation of transoms above the person door and overhead door. The roof pitch will match the main house. Background. The city received a building permit application from Leah Stetson to build an accessory building 14 by 24. Upon the start of construction, the applicant realized the building height would have to be increased to allow the transom installation and necessary framing above the person overhead door, and the variance of 18% to the accessory building height is being requested. The process to process major variance more than 10% subject to council approval, the development officer shall provide written notice to all assessed property owners within a radius of 30 meters, 98.4 feet from the subject lot, describing the variance sought and inviting written comments within 7 clear days. The application is reviewed by the planning board. The planning board makes a recommendation to council, and council may approve, deny, or approve a variance less than requested. Report. Under section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw, variance applications shall be considered by council, planning board, or the development officer, as applicable, against the following tests for justifying the variance. All applicable criteria must be met. A. The hardship is due to a unique physical condition of the lot or property, including small lot size, irregular lot shape, existing building location on the property, or exceptional topographical conditions which make it impractical to develop in strict conformity with the bylaw standards. Exceptional topographical conditions may include, but are not limited to, trees, slope, and land, etc. Slope of the land, etc. Staff comment, yes, this variant request would meet this test. While the hardship is not specifically due to existing building location, the proposed building height allows the applicant to have a roof pitch and a window design to match the existing main building. The city has approved accessory building height requests in the past when applicants are requested to have their accessory building match the roof pitch and or design elements of the main building. That the proposed variance meets the general intent of the official plan. Staff comment, yes, this variance request would meet this test. The variance meets the intent of the official plan. C, the proposed variance meets the general intent of the zone. Staff comment, yes, this variance request would meet the test. An accessory building is permitted in zone R1. D, the proposed variance would not impact negatively on adjacent properties and or the essential character of the surrounding neighborhood, including taking into consideration any comments from neighbors. Staff comment, yes, this variance request would meet this test. 15 letters were mailed to 10 properties within 30 meters of the boundaries of the subject property. Comments from adjacent property owners were due on or before May 29, 2024. The development officer received a call from Don Robbins, 405 Perry, on May 21st, 2024. Ms. Robbins stated she would not oppose to the variance. Written comments were received from 2 property owners, Mei Hung Long and Tran Tang Tuet Lee, 409 Perry Avenue, opposing the variance. Those comments are attached to this report. The property owners that provide comments do not abut the subject property. Staff review. City staff support the application for an accessory building height variance 18% at 410 Perry Avenue. As per section 7.3 of the zoning bylaw, the planning board shall make a recommendation to council on this application before it is approved or denied. The planning board recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward for council for a final decision. Planning board recommendation, the application received from Leah Stetson to allow an accessory building height 5.4 meters, 17.7 feet, resulting in an 18% variance, be recommended to be approved by council. So we need somebody to move and second that. And then we can.
Deputy Mayor Snow, a couple of letters you may want to read in before you just have a discussion as well.
I'm just going to get somebody to move second,
Okay,
and then
sure.
I'll read those letters, and if that's okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. And as Director Aaron said, there are 2 letters here. One received on May 27th, 2024. It's dated May 20th, 2024. Linda Stevenson, Development Officer, City of Summerside. Dear Miss Stevenson, subject comments on a variance application for 410 Perry Street, PID number 800979. I'm writing to share my concerns regarding the variance application submitted by Leah Stetson for 410 Perry Street, PID 800979, which seeks to increase the height of an accessory building from the permissible 4.5 meters. While I understand the need for flexibility in certain cases, the requested 18% variance to allow a height of 5.31 meters may set a challenging precedent for our community. The current height restriction of 4.5 meters helps maintain the neighborhood's character and coherence. A taller accessory building could impact the visual harmony and privacy of the surrounding properties, including my own. Therefore, I believe it is important to adhere to the existing height limitations to preserve the quality of ambience of our neighborhood. I respectfully request that the development officer and relevant city authorities consider these points when reviewing the application. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Sincerely, Mei Young Long, 409 Perry Avenue. And then we had another one dated May 20th, stamped received May 20th and stamped March 27th for some reason. But I'd say that's a typo, right? No, it. Yeah, yeah, I think the stamp date, just to note that. And again, it's to Lyndon Stevenson, Development Officer. Dear Miss Stevenson, subject comments on variance application for 410 Perry Street, PID 800979. I'm writing to share my concerns regarding the variance application submitted by Leah Stevenson for 410 Perry Street, PID number 800979, which seeks to increase the height of accessory building for a permissible 4.5 meters. Okay. While I understand the need for flexibility in certain cases, the requested 18% variance to allow a height of 5.31 meters may set a challenging precedent for our community. The current height restriction of 4.5 meters helps maintain the neighborhood's character and coherence. A taller accessory building could impact the visual harmony and privacy of surrounding properties, including my own. Therefore, I believe the importance to adhere to the existing height limitation to preserve the quality and ambience of our neighborhood. I respectfully request that Development Officer and relevant city authorities consider these points when reviewing the application. Thank you for your attention in this matter, and this one is signed Tran Tang Turet Lee, 409 Perry Avenue. So I'm right in saying those are the exact same letter, right? Okay. I was reading, I was like, am I reading the same one here? But so I sort of was. Okay, perfect. So those are the 2 letters that were received in writing, and then the other one was the one that had called in to Linda. So with that, I guess we'll open it up for questions and comments.
I just have one quick question to staff. Where on the lot is the accessory building proposed to be located? Is it a front yard,
directly
yard or backyard?
Backyard directly behind the building, like it's not to
Okay.
the side where you're seeing it from the street. We would buy, it's hard to, not gonna say it's hard to see, but you're not seeing it like a straight down the driveway in the back, it's in the middle. And they have probably a new 1.8 meter, 6 meter fence around the back of the property as well. And behind the property is I'm not gonna say a vacant lot, but it's an empty lot that's attached to one of the other properties. It doesn't directly butt onto an existing developed lot.
Right, so the properties that would have a viewpoint of it would be the adjacent 416 and 404, and then
Yes.
that super interesting house off, I think is Maddox. Okay, thanks, that's my only question.
And just to confirm, the letters came from that 409?
Have you received any feedback from either 404 or 416? And I'm just asking because they're directly beside it. I just asked if there was any feedback from any of the others, but other than that. No other questions? Yeah, we'll go for it. So, application, sorry guys. Planning board recommendation, application received by Leah Stetson to allow accessory building height of 5.4 meters, resulting in 18% variance, be recommended to be approved by council. And that was moved by Councillor Rick Morrison and seconded by His Worship Mayor Dan Kuchar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Not hearing any? Passed.
Thank you, Councillor Snow, for filling in so valiantly for Councillor Duran. Next one as well, I'm assuming you're carrying item 6
I think I
and
am
item
too.
7.
All right. Recommendation for street name, public street. Supporting explanation. Purpose, to name a public street off Granville Street. Background, public street owner developer, Pan American Properties, Inc., Tim Banks, President, wish to propose a name that is not on the approved street name list. The proposed name for the public street is Anna. The proposed street name would be in memory of Tim Banks' mother, Anna Banks. Anna was an active member of the community through her many years as a member of the Summerside Lions Club and her devoted involvement with St. Paul's Church. Anna also served on the board of the Summerside Co-op Food Store on Central Street for many years and also served a term on the Co-op Atlantic Board. As required under Emergencies Act 911 Act, the city is a designated municipality and is responsible for assigning civic addresses. A public road must be named if it provides access to 3 or more improved properties. As per Schedule B, street naming policy, the site, development, and subdivision, any person who wishes to use a name that is not on the approved street name list shall make application to council, and council shall approve or deny by simple resolution. Street naming committee review. The committee has reviewed the proposed street name, Anna. The street suffix will be Drive as per the street naming policy, Schedule B, subdivision and site development bylaw. The proposed street name, Anna Drive, conforms with the street naming policy. The proposed street name, Anna, is being forwarded to the planning board for their review and recommendation. The planning board recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward for council for a final decision. Planning board recommendation, the proposed street name, Anna, be recommended to be approved by council. Get somebody to move and second that. Moved by Councillor Rick and seconded by Mayor Dan Kuchar. Any questions? Comments? Not hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Not hearing none? Passed. And we're on to another street name. So recommendation, subject, street name, private street, supporting explanation. Purpose, to name a private street off Noonan Street. Background, the private street owner, Amalgamated Dairies Limited, wish to propose a name that is not on the approved street name list. The proposed name for the private street is Richard Rayner. The proposed street name would be in memory of Richard Rayner. Richard was a well-known business person in Summerside, operating Dan's Muffler for a number of years. Report, as required under the Emergencies 911 Act, the city is designated a municipality and is responsible for assigning civic addresses. A public road must be named if it provides access to 3 or more improved properties. As per Section B, street naming policy, the site development and subdivision, any person who wishes to use the name that is not on the approved street name list shall make application to council, and council shall approve or deny by simple resolution. Street naming committee review. The committee has reviewed the proposed street name Richard Rayner. The street suffix will be street as per the street naming policy Schedule B, subdivision and site development bylaw. The proposed street name Richard Rayner Street conforms with the street naming policy. The proposed street name Richard Rayner is being forwarded to the planning board for their review and recommendation. The planning board recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward to council for final decision. Planning board recommendation, the proposed street name Richard Rayner be recommended to be approved by city council. Call for a mover and a seconder. Moved by by Mayor Kuchar and seconded by Councillor Rick Morrison. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any or hearing any. Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed? Sorry. Motion passed.
Can I
Yeah.
just quickly, just since we just got through that, I just wanted to note, to thank ADL for bringing this forward. When we talked, when it came forward, it was the family of Richard Rayner had wished to do something, and they didn't know where or what would be appropriate. So I had a quick conversation with ADL, and they ran with it, and being good neighbors for years, the two of them, it's really nice to see that they came to this conclusion, and it's also a safety concern, right? There's a lot going on back there, and it's good to have it named. So anyways, it will be, the family's looking forward to the day the sign goes up, and they're planning a little something. So I just wanted to say thank you to ADL for being a good neighbor and respecting the wishes of the Rayner family.
Thank you. On that, I think I can turn it back over to you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Snow. Thank you, Councillor Adams. Certainly, I'm sure all of council shares the same sentiment. With that, we will adjourn the planning board meeting of June 4th, 2024, and if council is okay, we'll just continue on to our committee of the whole meeting. Great. So I'll call to order the committee of the whole meeting of June 4th, 2024 here in the city of Summerside at 5:20 p.m. Call for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor MacDougall, second. Councillor Snow, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none and no changes, the agenda is approved as presented. Opportunity for any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the committee of the whole agenda. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 4. Item 4 is bylaw enforcement being brought forward by Representative of Police Services, Councillor Adams, and I understand we have Officer Cornish here as well to make a presentation. Councillor Adams, I'll sort of hand it over to you to queue up.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess this, the bylaw officer position was something that it's been going on for a few years, that we were really trying to get the position in the city. We felt there was a need for it. Residents felt there was a need for it, and also the Summerside Police Service was very supportive of it as well. And I know I do see him around town doing his thing, so he's out and about. So I guess people were just sort of wondering, and even within council here, how it's going, how, like, you know, what he's, not what he's been up to, he's been up to quite a bit, but just sort of what he sees, what his time is mainly spent doing, and just that type of thing, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem at all. Sounds like you can hear me okay, because I can have it coming back at me here. I just want to pass on regards from Chief Walker. He wasn't feeling well yesterday and today, so he just asked me to step in. He did a great job writing 2 pages of paper, so I'm going to read it word for word so you can get the whole thing in its entirety. If anybody want a copy, I can give you a copy, but essentially I'm going to read from it. But, oh, you already have it? Perfect. Okay. Thanks. So we started off, put on a background here. The bylaw parking enforcement in Summerside was contracted to the Corps of Commissioners since January 1985. The majority of the bylaws were enforced by members of the police service. In recent years, there's been a substantial increase in the number of complaints regarding residents and commercial property owners not meeting the standards under the unsightly property bylaw. Due to the workload on police, council members wanted to move forward with a bylaw enforcement officer to increase enforcement within the city and take a more proactive approach to enforcement. On the onset, there were some challenges. The first barrier moving forward with hiring an independent person or agency to enforce the bylaws that were presently being enforced by the police service employees was to reach an agreement with the union. Once this was accomplished, we first advertised publicly for the position. After a number of attempts, we were unsuccessful in filling the position. At one point, we held off hiring, as we did have a member who was in need of accommodation at the time, but this member decided to take a position with the province and is no longer with the city of Summerside. Another challenge was the way in which violations were being reported. Some residents wanted to remain anonymous, and they preferred to report the complaint through their council or CAO, which in turn was reported to the police management. The complaint would be assigned, and management would have to report back to senior personnel in the city, which was basically an inefficient way of reporting. The reporting system in place now through Sandra, or the bylaw officer himself, is much more effective. The police dealing with complaints in a timely fashion became an issue as the police staff work schedule was on a 4-day on and 4-day off rotation. This extra workload was placed at a lower priority concerning the amount of files each member had in their task queue. Moving forward in 2022, Council approved a number of changes to the unsightly property bylaw. These changes streamlined the process for moving forward with complaints, which in turn sped up the process to deal with violators under the bylaw. In October 2023, the City of Summerside signed a contract with the Corps of Commissioners to take on the task of not just the parking bylaw, but other bylaw enforcement as well. The bylaw officer's office was moved from the police station to City Hall. This created a much smoother process for receiving complaints, as they would go directly to the bylaw officer. Payment for tickets were accepted at the City Hall and could be and he would be close by to deal with any concerns. Benefits: police can focus on the core policing functions, such as maintaining public order, enforcing law, and investigating criminal offenses. And I can even speak certainly on behalf of the officers here. I mean, a lot of our duties certainly go well beyond investigating criminal offenses, so there's a lot of social activities or dealings that take up a lot of the police time that wouldn't necessarily be considered, always police related. Police management are no longer involved in the reporting process, as previously mentioned. Much quicker response time to unsightly property and other bylaw complaints. The new bylaw officer will be taking a more proactive role in self-generating complaints as he patrols the city. And it's kind of a good point right there, because I think when you're talking like the unsightly properties, and a lot of that is often long grass, so when you're hitting May and June, I mean, that's when really those complaints start coming in. And one of the things I mentioned, I know there's a talk of, or there's kind of a no-mow May sort of campaign that's been going on. I don't know how many people here actually do that, but I think that certainly the enforcement now, we're in June, at the very least, it'll be stepping up. And so, and I don't know if anybody is familiar, but the bylaw officer is Garth McKinnon. And recently we hired a gentleman to serve in a casual basis. And so Garth's basically been training him the last little while. So Mr. McKinnon was involved in 32 complaints in relation to unsightly premises complaints regarding rodents, dogs, cats complaints, and other bylaw concerns. He has an up-to-date computer program that can be accessed by the CAO and police personnel to determine where any complaint is at in the process. And that wouldn't necessarily be all police personnel, but just some of us. The hiring of a bylaw officer has been a real positive move for the city in dealing with bylaw complaints. Having one individual to deal with the bylaw complaint is much more efficient in providing a timely service to our citizens. And we are coming into a period where being proactive is yet to be seen, but as I mentioned, you know, we're coming into that time of year. I just kind of did just a couple little notes on here. Certainly does, Garth certainly would have more time to dedicate to the bylaw enforcement. And he can deal with things in a more consistent manner, where he's the one who's consistently dealing with those calls. If you have police officers with all kinds of different roles and don't always deal with particular offenses, such as a bylaw, they may not always approach it the same way or as efficiently. So I think that's certainly a benefit with having a Garth or whoever works that position, and maybe be more familiar with certain people that he takes call to and hopefully develop some rapport. And really down the road, we now have a person who's going to be well versed in doing this role, so anyone who's taken on later on, certainly he can help train them to be up to speed better than some of us who don't regularly do that job. So I think it's working out great.
Does anybody have any questions? Or Corey, you must have a question.
I thought I didn't give you enough time to take one.
No question, just a comment. I'm not surprised it's going well. I did push pretty hard for it.
That's why I knew you'd have a question.
So I'm not surprised it is going well. No, but in all seriousness, I thought it was something that we really could use, and to some of your comments, taking some of that less important policing or bylaw requirements off the police force, because they have enough to deal with. So that was the whole intent of it, is to open up policing to focus on the more serious issues, but these are still serious issues to neighbors and other properties in the area that have concerns. So I'm glad to hear it's going well, and thanks for the update. I appreciate it.
No, great.
Yeah, just to comment, I think it's going well, and there's a lot of people out there that don't like cutting grass, and it's unbelievable. We have to spend time, whether it's our bylaw officer or police officers, that we have to go and chase somebody to start a lawnmower, and it's you know, it pits neighbors against neighbors, and that's not right. So we need to, you know, we expect people to cut their grass, and this is the time the grass grows. So, you know, we gotta. Anyway, it's an issue, and there's lots of them that won't cut it until you almost push them over for them. So, thanks.
Dale, you did a great job.
I didn't write a single word.
What I really appreciate is like everything that was captured. I think every one of us as council members have run into those situations. But the one that I really appreciate is the challenges, because I think every councillor in here, when a resident had a complaint, they'd start with the councillor, you try to do it, but then if somebody's shift time changed, or if somebody was on vacation, that consistency didn't happen. And I think sometimes people wanted to remain anonymous, which made it very difficult for us, because then it became political. If we didn't, you know, follow up when the expectation was made, and it fell through the cracks, it wasn't because we weren't trying, it was just the consistency. So I can really see that difference, and so really appreciate it.
Oh, it's definitely a way better process.
And I do think Garth does a great job. Like, he's pretty consistent when he's with people that follow up. It's good.
No, it's good.
I think that's it for me, unless anybody else has anything, but thank you so much, Dale, I really
no, thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Have a good evening.
You did an excellent job in Chief Walker's absence as well, so we'll ask for you next time. Yeah. At this point, we'll move on to item 5, Deputy Mayor Snow, the vacant premises bylaw. Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship. So basically, I put this on here because if council recalls, we had passed a vacant premises bylaw. It's sort of funny as we just finished talking about bylaws, but it's one of the ones that I still notice happening throughout the city, where we have several vacant buildings, properties. There's one coming up next where Councillor MacDougall's bringing it up. I think we're doing a disservice to our community by not enforcing the bylaw. And I understand it's probably similar to what was going on previously, not having the resources, that sort of thing to actually enforce. But by not enforcing it and the work that had gone into actually creating the bylaw, passing the bylaw, staff, council's time and resources, and then for it not to be enforced is somewhat frustrating to myself. So I've been asked about it because there's a number of properties either within my ward or within the city that are highly visible properties, and they're curious of what has happened or why it's not occurring. So I want to get it on here to try to get an update and see how we can start down that path of enforcement, because similar to having a bylaw officer, I think if you start enforcing things, then things will improve, and not enforcing it just doesn't work. So I guess that's a staff question, and wondering where we're at currently or how we go about.
Yeah, I think certainly need to do a little more of a review from a staff perspective. I think it would be a good idea to place it on the agenda for the Bylaw and Governance Committee for us to bring back to council some recommendations on some areas where we potentially could strengthen the bylaw and kind of meet the desired goals of council. And we can prioritize that within our workflow so that if it's a priority of council and they want us to kind of move it up the list of other items in that committee's work, we can do so as well.
So, yeah, I don't know what council's feeling on this is. I haven't, had a large amount of discussion with my fellow councillors, but at one point it was important enough to council to do work on a bylaw, pass a bylaw, and then be under the impression, or I was, that there would be some enforcement of that bylaw. So if that's what it takes for us to see some improvement on it, I really think it's an important issue. If you have a vacant property, whether or not it's a house, we're in a housing crisis. You have houses sitting vacant with nothing or very little being done. They then become unsightly, or we have just vacant buildings. I can think of a number. As I said, there's one coming up next that are not being utilized to their potential, or just sitting, rotting, and having a negative impact on the city as a whole. So if that could be done, I guess, pushed to bylaw and governance to see what recommendations come out of it. But ultimately, I would like to see some way to enforce it and how we are going to enforce it moving forward.
Yeah, I'd certainly second that. Councillor Snow. Councillor Morrison?
I would just like to speak to that for a second, because I totally agree there are some vacant properties that we need to do something with, but there's also vacant properties, both commercial and residential. I know of some residential ones that have been vacant for years, but you would never know it because they're maintained, manicured, looked after, there's no issues, everything's, so if we do, or we get involved in stuff like that, you have to be careful with just a blanket policy, because you might be tying people up into that stuff that really, they may only come here for a month or two a year, whatever it is, and live in them, and then they're empty for another 10 or 11 months, and I just want to be a little careful that we're not stepping on everybody's toes, that we're going after the proper facilities or the proper buildings or homes or whatever, and not hurting people that, come here for a month or two a year because they were born here or plan to retire here down the road. that we're not causing them any heartache or hardship.
Yeah, and that can go on the record to the committee for consideration. Perhaps, Councillor Adams, you're the chair of Bylaw Governance Communications, so if this can go to your committee, if you can let members of council know when this comes up on your committee agenda, so members of council could perhaps attend and join you. I'm really familiar, Councillor Snow, with the bylaw. I read the bylaw when it was introduced. I thought it had some significant problems. There is an onus on the property owner to, as far as I recall, to apply to place their building as a vacant premises, which then would attract additional costs for them. Going into the election, I did reach out to the city to find out how many people had applied, and at the time there had been 0. So it probably is something worth returning to and taking consideration of Councillor Morrison's comments. Question for staff, this is for Kristen. Kristen, is a vacant commercial property, is it taxed at a residential rate? At a non-commercial, so an otherwise commercial property that is vacant then gets taxed at a non-commercial rate, which would be at a lower tax rate. So in fact, there is a tax break or reduction for having a property sit, potential commercial property sit vacant. Okay. Council's good with that going to committee and coming back? Great. Thank you, Councillor Snow. Councillor MacDougall, we got a good little theme going. I don't know if you guys all planned this on the text thread that I'm not on, but
No,
Councillor MacDougall?
we didn't, and this one is not vacant. They're working out of there, but this is the old government garage that I'm concerned with. I hear a rumor that there's a sale in the wind and in the works, and we hope that comes through. But in the meantime, there's been a demolition order issued for the old round salt shed, and it's been coming down one shingle at a time and very slowly. So we need to either throw a Scud missile through that or do something, because it's dangerous the way it is, and it's unsightly. The whole property is unsightly, and we need to have that cleaned up. So hopefully with the sale of the property, that things like that will happen. But in the meantime, I think the old salt shed has to come down, because it's like I said, I think they're doing it one shingle at a time. So.
Is there an update, staff? JP, do you have an update on
Following
current
the demolition order, the owner came in, applied for a permit for demolition. That was, I think, processed early last week. And we're anticipating a demolition happening I don't know the expiry date of the permit, but it's been applied for and been given out.
Okay, because I was told probably a month or so ago that there was a permit done on that.
There was an order done by the city,
Okay,
and the order required a permit, and the owner came in and applied for the permit and has since received the permit.
okay, misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor, to your point too, I don't know if you want to get a more fulsome update or review options with respect to the former government garage eventually, because I think there's a very good case to be made that it is meets some of the unsightly, fails to meet
Yeah.
some of our unsightly premises bylaw.
It definitely does,
Requirements.
and I spoke with a potential owner, new owner, and with a promise that it will be cleaned up, and but this has been let go for a long time. It's like a boneyard for old garbage trucks, and there's a lot of material parked at the back of the lots, and inside that old shed, that salt shed that's supposed to be has a demolition permit on it. I'm not sure what's in there. I wouldn't go in there for loving their money. And, but we need to, this is a prime example of things that we need to follow up on. And this has just been the worst looking old building for the longest time. And, you know, I've had it in the council chambers probably every year, a couple of times, and there's been residents that are just so frustrated with the look of that property. So hopefully things are going to look up from here on in. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Moving on, again, Councillor MacDougall, next item is yours, Boardwalk Safety Security. I do recall there was a meeting to be held, so is that an update?
Yes, at our last monthly committee meetings, I had the boardwalk on because of the amount of damage that has taken place down there. And I know that it takes a long time to have those lights. You know, we have to manufacture new collars for them. We have to work it into their schedule once they get the new collars. So it's a really time-consuming thing. The only good news is that the collars, the upgraded collars that were on the units, they weren't knocked over. The ones that weren't fitted with the new collar did go over, so those will all be fitted with the new collar. But in saying that, the big issue was we had a meeting, and Councillor Adams was there with the police, our chief and deputy chief, our CAO, and I believe, JP, were you there? Yes. And yes, JP was there. How could I ever forget? But anyway, we had a great conversation around it, like whether it's cameras we need, and so basically what we've decided on as the first step is to get security on not only the boardwalk, but there's other parts of our city, the parks around the city, you know, whether it's Rotary Park, Heather Moyse Park, all our areas. We need to ensure that it's safe and that there's not this amount of damage that has been happening. So we're in the process of securing a security company to, or person, whatever, to do this, and we're hoping to have it in place in the next couple of weeks. So I'm not sure if you can add anything to that, JP, or?
No, I think you've summed it up. We'll have, we're working on securing staff at the moment, which has been a bit of a challenge just in terms of the nature of the work and the hours, but I've instructed my staff that it's a top priority to get rolling as soon as possible, and we hope to have patrol starting as soon as we can.
Great, thank you. So that's all I have on that, Your Worship, unless there's any questions.
Did I misunderstand or hear, so was it city staff that's gonna do the security, or are we hiring a security company?
We're going to start with using city staff at the moment, just from an affordability perspective. It's sort of an unbudgeted item, so we're going to run with city staff utilizing the bylaw enforcement vehicle in the evening hours when that vehicle is not used, and they'll stay in direct contact with Summerside Police for anything that they can't handle. The goal is more of a deterrent than it is anything else.
Yes.
The schedule will be kind of roving. It won't be static, so that there'll be some inconsistencies on purpose in terms of when we're scheduling. The location and the routes will kind of flow differently, so we can maybe deter that type of behavior from occurring.
Okay, no, I just, I think from a cost standpoint, that's a good start.
Thank you, Councillor MacDougall. Item 8, Councillor McColeman, crosswalk request.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just point out that we did have an email that was sent to Mayor Kuchar as well, being involved in the ward, It's concerning the Heather Moyse Drive. It's a well-trafficked road, and I'd like to thank the resident for taking the time to let us, know about the concern that is there. Many residents and visitors frequently cross it to enjoy the scenic trails and waterfront activities. However, without a designated crosswalk, this crossing can be hazardous. A crosswalk would provide a safe, visible, and convenient way for pedestrians, including families with children, the elderly, and individuals with mobility challenges, to traverse this busy street. The other point that the resident has made that lives downtown, the installation of a crosswalk aligns with our city's commitment to promoting a pedestrian-friendly environment and encouraging outdoor activities. It would not only improve safety, but also enhance the overall experience for those utilizing the rails to trails and the boardwalk. And in her opinion, the small infrastructure improvement could have a significant positive impact on our community. And she's kindly urging City Council and the department involved to consider this request and take the necessary steps to install the crosswalk. And maybe when we're in that process now with our summer maintenance, that if that could be looked at. I'm just wondering, Deputy CAO, if that could be looked at.
Yeah, there has been a review on that particular location in the past from both Public Works and from Tech Services in terms of the proximity to the intersection. So I'll ask staff to revisit that file and bring back a response to council with regards to just a review from a safety perspective. And if it's feasible, it would be pretty easy to move forward with line painting, but I think it's important to do that quick safety review.
Sure.
And just in advance of that.
No, that would be appreciated. And if I may take 2 minutes, these are also a couple of just quick safety phone call concerns that did come in concerning hedges, since we're coming into summer mode and the season. A couple of residents had called and they're wondering if hedges near intersections could, be given that second look to make sure that they're not getting too high. The two that were pointed out, Euston and Belmont Street, wasn't me, but it was a resident. And Fitzroy and Granville, we have had some safety concerns there. The point that was made is that the visibility can sometimes be limited. There's young children that are playing, especially during summer season, seniors out walking, and it would be appreciated if the city could just take a look at those as they're starting to come up. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McColeman. I do want to just, any other comments from council? On the question of the sidewalk, or our lights? Poor Rick. Rick, I feel bad you sit in that seat. You're the one who has to get up. On the question of the crosswalk, that crosswalk then, what you're indicating, Councillor McColeman, then would connect the pedestrian trail that moves from Heather Moyse Drive up to along the Confederation Trail and then over to up towards Water Street. That's correct? Yes. So immediately across the street. So that would essentially connect a footpath that we already have over what essentially is, I know it's a 2-lane road, but it is 4 lanes of width because you have parking on both sides. So connecting our downtown to Spinnaker's Landing, to Harbourfront Theatre, to Access PEI, to the Silver Fox, so giving people the opportunity to move about in a variety of ways, not just by vehicle, but by foot or by bicycle or stroller or however people are getting around. Okay.
And it would certainly make it convenient for all of those things that you just mentioned.
Certainly would. Yeah, it would connect a lot of our tourism assets and community cultural assets to our historic downtown and help people move through our community. I did walk that last week, and there are curb cuts across the street. So, while sometimes there are engineering issues with how close a crosswalk should be to an intersection, I think we just need to make sure we look at the reality of we've built and designed our community to have people cross at that spot. And I think if you go in the summer, particularly if there's a show at the theater or something, you've got people running across the road there. So thank you for bringing that forward. So staff will bring back some information on that for council, and then council could consider either to move forward or not at the next meeting. Safe amount of time. Great. Unless there's anything else, which I don't think there is, we will adjourn our committee of the whole meeting, and if council is okay, we'll just keep rolling here into our special council meeting. Okay. So we'll call the order of the special council meeting of June 4th, 2024, here at 5:51 p.m. I would, before we make a motion to approve the agenda, I understand item 5A is being removed. Correct, Councillor Adams? Yep. Okay, so the amended agenda would be having item 5A deleted. And there would be another amendment to that, and I don't know the exact section of the Municipal Government Act conversation through that started via email with council, but under we would then be the new 5C Municipal Government Act Section 119. Deputy CAO DeRosier can bring that forward, or myself, and that is discussion on a request for municipal support for proposed development. So I'm going to add that onto our agenda, if that's okay, so we can speak to that this evening. With that, I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda or any other changes from council. Moved by Councillor McColeman, second by Councillor Snow. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll carry forward with the agenda as presented. This is an opportunity for any member of council to identify a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the agenda as presented based on the information placed right here. I guess I would, this would come to a question of technicality, but I guess we haven't come across this before. But if there were an item in camera, then the council would have the opportunity then to declare a conflict of interest at that point in time. Okay. Any declarations with respect to item 4? Nope. Okay. We will move on to item 4, resolution COS 24-048, housing accelerator milestone realignment. Councillor MacDougall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a resolution here on the half milestone realignment. And we have Janice with us here, Janice Harper. This is basically realigning some dates and that, so I have a resolution moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McColeman. The background, the City of Summerside applied to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, CMHC, under the Housing Accelerator Fund in the fall of 2023 with 10 initiatives to accelerate housing. All 10 initiatives were approved by CMHC, plus 4 additional initiatives were added in the project negotiation stage. The city has proceeded to begin to address a number of initiatives, including drafting changes currently under review to the official plan and drafting a new zoning bylaw, including rezoning to accommodate the east-west corridor and higher densities. We 6 planning consultants have reviewed the original timelines and have requested the realignment of some start and completion dates to allow for a more efficient project management and to allow for more time to complete tasks. And the attached document, COS HAF, milestone realignment, May 2004, for the details is attached. The city signed an agreement on December 7th, 2023 with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation under the Housing Accelerator Fund to meet 14 initiatives and milestones over the half period under Schedule A of the agreement. Reporting is required on the initiatives, milestones, and related half activities at 6-month intervals beginning June 7th, 2024. So whereas the City of Summerside signed an agreement on December 7th, 2023 with Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation under the Housing Accelerator Fund to meet the 14 initiatives and milestones over the half period under Schedule A of the agreement, be it resolved the city directs staff to proceed to amend the timelines of initiatives as noted in the attached document, COS HAF milestone agreement realignment May 2024, and to communicate amended timelines to CMHC. No problem, Rick. So that's the resolution, Your Worship. I'm not sure if Janice has anything to add to that, or?
No, it's a pretty straightforward resolution. So basically when we were...
Just touch the mic.
Do I touch it?
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, okay, I see it. So it's a pretty straightforward resolution. When we were doing the application, we actually anticipated that CMHC would not accept some of the initiatives. And then in the negotiation stage, it became apparent that not only did they accept them all, but they added 3. And as you're aware, we're well underway with a number of them, but we're just buying ourselves some time to basically move some of the climate change stuff to later in the project, and to maybe bump up some of the other stuff to do with actual permitting or facilitating units or funding for units. So it's on my from my approach, it's a risk management approach, because
Right.
we just want to make sure the CMHC is aware in advance, and they've asked to be notified in advance, that we are going to take a different timeline than what was originally presented. So we're just buying ourselves some time.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Janice.
Thank you.
Just on that, so, and I think you might have said this, but changing the timeline is not going to negatively impact, or you don't foresee it negatively impacting the original agreement, so.
No, not at all. No, no.
Any other questions from council? Hearing none, Councillor, it was moved and seconded by? Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McColeman. Resolution COS 24-048, moved by Councillor MacDougall, seconded by Councillor McColeman, is on the floor. Any further comments, questions, statements from members of council? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is carried. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Janice. Thank you for all of the work.
We'll see you again later this month.
Yeah, we will see you again soon. We have lots of public meetings on this coming up. With that, we will move to an in-camera session, so we have a chance for any members of the public to exit. I think we turn off our YouTube feed, and we'll get our doors closed. So we'll just take a 2-minute recess there, council.